Hey, it's Dave with Taboo Customs. Today we are back on this 98 TJ behind me. Today we're going to be working on the neutral safety switch. Now, if you've got a Jeep that won't start, you've got power, the starter won't engage, won't kick in, won't even try to start, there's a chance that your neutral safety switch could be a problem. Now, in some older Jeeps and some newer Jeeps, like the AW4 used to have a big problem with neutral safety switch, and you could go from park to neutral and kind of go back and forth, and there's a little finger in there, and sometimes it just wouldn't make good connection. And you could make good connection by doing that. However, with these TJs, there's another issue that you can run into. So let's take a look at what that issue actually is. All right, this TJ actually came to us this way, but it's an issue we've ran into in other TJs. So we're here on the driver's side of this TJ, and right back here is actually your neutral safety switch on the TJs, and you can see this one here. What happens is, and we'll pull it out and get a closer look, but you can see the wires in it and how the insulation has been pulled back, and it basically shorts out in there. It doesn't make good contact, and the neutral safety switch starts to look like it's failing when it's actually the connector, the wiring that has failed. So when we had this one come in, somebody had actually already gone in, and you can see the wires up there, jump the wires so that it would start. And basically, you know, this would get you off the trail, it'd get you to the shop, it'd get you home, it'd get you where you need to go, but it will also now turn over and drive and reverse and all that good stuff, kind of negating the safety effects of the neutral safety switch. So today we're here to replace that. So I'll get this pulled out and we'll take a little bit closer look at the old wiring, and we'll take a look at what we're replacing it with. Okay, so we've got the harness out of the Jeep, and here you can see the connector that was connected to the transmission. Actually looks like the insulation melted back out of the connector, so it probably at one point got pretty hot and started melting a little bit of the connector and the insulation going back, and ended up eventually probably shorting out. So on these connectors, there's 3 wires. And we didn't do this. This came out of the Jeep. A previous owner did this. You got a purple with a white, which is your voltage. You've got this brown with the light blue stripe that is actually in the center. That is the sense for your park and neutral. And then you've got this purple with a black stripe on it that's going to be hard to see. That is actually your backup lamps. So your backup lamps, if also your backup lamps don't work, this might be one of the reasons why they don't work, because the voltage just have to pass through this sensor, and that's how it knows that it can send power to the backup lamp. So to jump these, the brown and light blue is grounded out, because this was the ground circuit to your backup lamp, so it is grounded out to the backup lamp wire, and that is going back into the harness, so it looks like it's always grounded, looks like it's always in park or neutral as far as the computer can see for the starting circuit. So to fix that, we're going to be installing or using this connector from standard S1837. I'll put a link in the description for this video. That kit will come with a new connector, 6 wires. You'll have some purple wires, which are smaller gauge. Then you'll have some orange wires, which are larger gauge, so we're going to use the larger gauge wires. They'll also come with some heat shrink butt connectors. We're actually going to go with solder and shrink connectors because we prefer those, but essentially we will go ahead and let's work on getting this wired up. All right, so to start wiring a connector, right now it doesn't really matter which ones we're going to put these in because they're all the same color. These will only fit in there one way. You'll find that if you try putting them in the wrong way, and you will hear a click whenever it's fully inserted. If you try putting them in the wrong way, won't go. Flip them 180, and there we go. So now we've got our 3 wires connected here. We'll go ahead and strip the ends. Okay, we'll go ahead and cut these back. It actually looks like the smaller gauge would have matched this better, but shouldn't make a difference. Okay, so now for the important thing is going to be, of course, matching up which wires went to which. Now, if your plug, let's say the wires pull it out of it, if you've got your plug like this wire over here is the purple with the white stripe, the wire on the far other end is the purple with the black stripe, and then the one in the middle is the brown with the light blue stripe. So just to make it easy, we'll go ahead and start with the middle, since we can't get that one screwed up really. So a couple quick tips on using these, and we'll put a link to these in our video description as well. We like using these to make all of our butt wiring connections rather than using the crimp style butt connectors that, even though this is a heat shrink butt connectors, a lot of times when people crimp these, they crimp them so hard they cut through that plastic. Now with these, there are a couple of tips though. One, this one here was actually sitting below it. We melted it a little bit, didn't realize that till we went to start put it on and noticed it was a lot smaller on one end than the other. But that does bring us to one thing, is that if you do have like a case like this where this orange wire is a little bit bigger than the existing wires, one side of these is typically a little bit bigger than the other side, so you might find it easier to try to put that bigger side on the bigger wire at times and go from there. Also, when you're heating these, what we basically are looking for is, one, we make sure, you know, we get all of the air, if we can, out of the underneath the plastic, and then we are looking at the edges of this collar in the middle, and we're looking for a really bright spot to show up on either side, and that really bright spot is actually the solder that has melted. And once we start to see that the solder has melted in there and has turned to liquid, we know that it's started to flow and we should have good connection. So then we know we have our butt connector done and we're ready to go. So we've got our wiring done. We've double checked that we are wired correctly. Now we're basically going to put some lume on here, throw it back in the Jeep, and we should have our neutral safety switch issue fixed, and we now should also have our reverse lights back. All right, so as for the reinstall, one thing to remember is that this connector up here does have one of those red safety locks in it, so taking it off, you'll have to pull that out. Putting it back in, you'll have to try to get it pushed back in, then reconnect down here. One thing to remember is, if you do like us and you use all of the wire that came with the kit, you're going to have a lot of extra wire up here. And there's a couple things you're going to want to stay away from. Right here's the drive shaft. Obviously you don't want to come into contact with that. And then you've got a lot of linkages back here, and you've also got linkages up here, so you don't want to get into really any of that. So what we did is we actually just zip tied it here to the this is the throttle kickdown cable. This side is the side that doesn't move. You could also actually run it probably through this bracket. We may actually change it up and do that. That might be a little safer, but then that keeps it away from the drive shaft, keeps away from these linkages back here, and keeps all this stuff up here. It keeps it in a good neutral position where it shouldn't get involved in any other problems in the future. All right, so that'll do it here for our neutral safety switch fix in our 98 Jeep TJ. Hopefully this helped you if you are having an issue with your neutral safety switch and wanted to see how to fix that connector. There is a kit for that, so be sure to check out the links in the description below. If you are needing rust repair kits, skid plates, or anything else, check out taboocustoms.com for all of those. And as always, a like or subscribe is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.